Welcome to The Explainer. I'm your host, and today we're embarking on a totally fascinating journey. We're going to travel from the very depths of our minds all the way down into the microscopic, bustling universe inside our bellies. If you're a focused learner who wants to understand exactly how common mental disorders and our gut health are so deeply intertwined, well, you are in the perfect place. Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. We'll be moving through 4 areas. 1. Decoding common mental disorders. 2. Aging and the brain. 3. The gut-brain axis. And finally, 4. Nutrition for your mind. Let's get right to it. Section 1. Decoding common mental disorders, understanding depression, bipolar, and schizophrenia. We're going to start strictly up in the brain, exploring psychiatric disorders that usually show up during youth and adulthood. We hear it all the time, right? People often reduce depression to just a simple chemical imbalance. But actually, it's a highly complex, multidimensional condition. Yes, it absolutely involves brain chemistry, but it's equally driven by our genetics, major life events, certain personality traits, and even chronic physical illnesses. It really shows us that depression is a whole-body, whole-life experience. Now, when we look at bipolar disorder, which is characterized by these massive shifts in mood and energy, we really need to focus on the overlap. Think about those incredibly complex mixed episodes. This is where the intense emotional highs of mania, like racing thoughts or extreme impulsivity, overlap directly with severe depressive symptoms, like having zero energy and isolating yourself. It perfectly captures just how complicated managing this disorder can really be. So the crucial point when breaking down schizophrenia is understanding the distinct disconnect from reality that it creates. Medical professionals categorize these into positive and negative symptoms. And by positive, they don't mean good. They mean things added to reality, like hallucinations or delusions. Negative symptoms are things taken away from a person's normal baseline, resulting in a severe lack of emotion, extreme social withdrawal, or just a total lack of motivation. And these underlying physiological changes, they dramatically alter an individual's everyday life. It's not just about experiencing delusions. Schizophrenia completely disrupts daily behavior. It leads to changes in sleep and eating, extreme mood swings, excessive fear, and it fundamentally impairs thinking. It makes it incredibly difficult for a person to concentrate or even relate to other people on a basic level. Section 2. Aging and the brain. Neurological disorders in later life. As we transition from youth and adulthood, we have to examine how neurological deterioration naturally affects us in old age. Let's zoom in on Parkinson's disease on a cellular level. Normally, dopamine transmission happens seamlessly between neurons, allowing for smooth, coordinated movement. But Parkinson's physically breaks down this dopamine transmission in the brain. Because dopamine is absolutely essential for motor function, this breakdown is exactly what initially deteriorates a person's muscle control, leading to those recognizable tremors and rigidity. But here is a really vital point to remember. Parkinson's goes far beyond just movement. The condition also significantly impacts non-motor functions. Over time, it leads to the deterioration of the senses, a decreased thinking ability, and a massive decline in overall mental health, often triggering severe anxiety and depression. It's truly a system-wide breakdown. Similarly, people use the terms dementia and Alzheimer's interchangeably all the time. But dementia is actually an umbrella term. It represents a severe loss of memory and thinking abilities that literally interferes with daily life. Alzheimer's is simply the most common specific cause sitting under that umbrella, right alongside other causes like vascular or Lewy body dementia. Let's geek out on the biochemistry for a second. We know from the source material that very specific compounds, known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which are these harmful compounds formed when proteins or fats combine with sugar in the bloodstream, well, they are heavily implicated in initiating and progressing this Alzheimer-type dementia. So our cognitive decline is heavily tied to these internal chemical processes. Section 3. The gut-brain axis, a paradigm shift in mental health. Okay, here is where we zoom out from the brain completely and introduce a massive, absolutely fascinating paradigm shift in how we understand human health. 10 to 100 trillion. Just let that number sink in for a second. Believe it or not, that massive, almost impossible to imagine number represents the symbiotic microbial cells living inside your body right now, up to 100 trillion of them, primarily making up your gut microbiota. To put that into perspective, there are roughly 10 times as many outside organisms operating inside you as there are actual human cells. Our health is entirely dependent on this bustling microscopic community. Enter a true biological marvel, the vagus nerve. This is the physical, anatomical, two-way communication superhighway between your gut and your brain. Remember those trillions of gut microbes we just talked about? Well, they actually produce chemical neurotransmitters that travel directly up this nerve to literally talk to your brain. They influence your mood, your feelings of fullness, and even your body's pain response. It's wild. But this gut-brain axis isn't operating in a vacuum. It relies on a highly interconnected, holistic ecosystem. It's constantly being fueled and altered by your daily diet, your baseline genetics, how much you exercise, and your environmental stress levels. Even social interaction plays a part in this feedback loop. It completely redefines mental health as a full-body equation. Section 4, Nutrition for your mind. Feeding the brain. Since our gut dictates so much of what happens upstairs in our minds, we absolutely have to talk about lifelong maintenance through the emerging field of psychiatric nutrition. Quick recap on our food building blocks. On one hand, we have our macronutrients, the carbs, proteins, and fats that give us our baseline energy and structural components. But on the other hand, we have micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. We only need them in small amounts, but they are absolutely vital for those complex biochemical processes that keep the gut-brain axis communicating efficiently. Because the brain is such a massive energy hog, supplying it with the right mix of those nutrients has a profound effect. Proper nutrition directly impacts neurotransmitter synthesis. It controls body-wide inflammation, regulates oxidative stress, and actively supports hormone regulation. Simply put, you're literally feeding your brain's ability to remain emotionally and cognitively stable. Grounding this back in the real world, especially for aging patients dealing with dementia, we have to recognize that getting those nutrients isn't always as simple as just serving up a healthy meal. We face really practical nutrition roadblocks. A patient might simply no longer recognize the food on their plate. Or we have to be vigilant to check for poorly fitting dentures, causing hidden pain, and constantly monitor new medications that might just be killing their appetite altogether. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, memorable thought to really spark your curiosity. For generations, when it comes to psychological struggles, we've always been told it's all in our head. But looking at the undeniable data of the gut-brain axis, we have to ask, what if the key to your mental health is actually in your gut? Thank you so much for diving into this with me. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.